But then, again, I'm still gonna stay on Team Kazuma because you know what he does? He uses all of his evil magic to get rid of the Heart Garden. How can you sit here and say you hate Kazuma? He got rid of the Heart Garden. Mahalo and welcome back to You and Idol Precure episode 42, and oh, these next two episodes. They're gonna be something, I'll say that. But if you followed this review up until this point, you will not be surprised, and most of what I'm going to say probably also will not severely surprise you. But before we do that, let's just get into it. Let's just break down what happens in this episode, shall we? We start with it reminding us that this is a Kaito episode. Kaito's back, he's concerting again, world tour, living his best life. You know, it's a Kaito episode. He also seems to be still going for the same method of, I'm gonna sing this one song for Kazuma, and that's still gonna be my goal, even though it has not been articulated to Kazuma that this song is for him. Like, I'm still gonna stand on principle that this method is probably the dumbest method that keeps getting used, not only in Precure, but in the, like, franchise as a whole, where they're like, I'm gonna sing a song with the world's most vague lyrics that don't remotely imply who I'm talking about, and could be interpreted a number of ways. And that's how I'm going to get this very specific person that I'm singing at to understand how I feel, and I'm like, that... I'm like, this is not the play. This is like, it sounds like you need to be a big boy and have a conversation with somebody. Sounds like maybe we just needed to communicate directly with people, but well, who am I to say that that works? We'll just have to see what happens. Kazuma, not super psyched about that, because clearly he doesn't understand what's happening, because why would he? The only person who's communicated it to him is Uta, and Uta is like the worst source to communicate to him. Why? Because Uta is 100% Kaito bias. Uta literally is just blindly taking Kaito's side the whole time and just going with it. And I will get into why that frustrates me so much in this episode. But we're not there yet! We're not getting there yet! Because of course we have to explain that this is a Kaito episode, which means everyone else is irrelevant. And to some degree, technically, Uta probably should have been irrelevant too. So we just gotta, like, shoehorn in the rest of the group because they don't matter. We have to give them some time because, you know, wouldn't it be funny if the show was called You and Idol Precure and we actually included You and Idol in it? You know, that'd be crazy. But, you know, as it goes, Kaito, the ever-famed stalker, is once again returning to Cafe Glitter, trying to find Uta, and unceremoniously, the others are like, we're gonna be going away now. You know, Kaito not saying anything about that. He's like, hey, you know, maybe we could also have your friends participate. And he's like, no, I want Uta alone so that I can trauma dump. Like, instead of this guy who is rich and famous spending that money on therapy, he's gonna go trauma dump on a 13-year-old girl. Because that's what you do when you're rich and famous. He also gives her tickets, and I love that they point out that it's 3 of them. Because Kaito doesn't really know anything about Uta. He doesn't know that she has 2 new human-formed friends that she's been hanging around. He only knows the other 2, of which I bet he doesn't know their names. I bet you Kaito does not know Kokoro and Nana's names at all. I thought that was just kind of a detail that I was like, ooh, I guess this means we have to put Metalon and Puridun through the metal detector as plushies when they go into the concert. Can you imagine? Imagine if they had one of those x-ray ones and they see an x-ray for Puridun and Metalon and they're like, what is that? They're like, that looks like meat and stuff on the inside and not fluff. A little crazy. But anyways, back to our regular scheduled trauma dumping. Kaito proceeds to tell us what actually happened that day when he and Kazuma saw each other last, which I know exactly why this is completely reframed the second time we've seen it. They wanted to drag out the drama. They wanted to drag out the drama because this is not what they implied last time. They implied that Kazuma was mad at him and that their departure was on bad terms. But instead, this scene just makes me team Kazuma. He sits there and he's like, why did you reject debuting? Why are you canceling that? He gets angry at Kaito. He's like, Kaito, you should debut. You made it. I don't want to hold you back. I'm like, Kazuma is checking the boxes for all the good bean like, protagonist things to do, by the way. Like, he's sitting here being like, you got there fair and square. I'm just gonna have to work harder to catch up to you. Despite Kaito in this moment being like, no, I want to do this with you. I'm going to reject the successful audition in the hopes that the two of us can pursue it together. And honestly, this is written well. I'm not gonna lie. When we actually have it written correctly and not retconned, this is not a bad conflict at all for these two characters. Like, in another life, Kazuma would be the protagonist of his own anime. I mean, I'm gonna get this totally wrong, but is this not kind of the premise of Black Clover? Isn't it about, like, initially there's two guys, and one is just, like, good at everything, and one is terrible at everything, and the one who's terrible at everything is the protagonist? Like, isn't the other guy, like, his friend, but, like, leagues better than him, and, like, is super good at magic inherently, and main boy is not? It's somebody who actually knows Black Clover. Tell me if that is not the plot of the beginning of Black Clover. I think it changes, but, like, it's like, he's trying not to hold back his friend. He's trying to be the bigger person, which is very impressive. Which is, really recontextualize this. Again, it makes me more on Team Kazuma. And they, like, drive the nail in worse here, where they have him sit there being like, you know, I know how to spot talent, and he does this signature move that he's been doing when he finds, like, the perfect darkness. So it's so much worse, it, like, hurts more, where he's sitting here saying that I can spot the light in people and find talent, and then later he has a talent for spotting the darkness in people. Like, he was the protagonist, he was the good guy at one point. Like, we see him at his top trying to be, like, again, he is doing everything an anime protagonist would do. And it hurts. And when he pulls away, he's not pulling away maliciously in this moment. He's trying to sit there and be the bigger person. And I'm just screaming! This was actually written well! But let's see how they flubbed the execution, in my opinion. But at least finally we have the context for what happened. We finally know how we got to this point, even though they technically tried to show us before what happened and they, like, kind of rewrote it a little bit. If they had just shown us this to begin with, instead of, like, trying to imply that Kazuma was always angry at the end of it, like, I don't know what the point of sitting there and, like, making him seem like he was always mad to he wasn't mad, tried to be the bigger person, and then became the bad guy. Like, I don't know why they wrote it this way! And we do have one thing that is pointed out, which is the fact that Darkine is like, hey, Kazuma / Jogi, I see that your resolve has been shaken. And I think it's very interesting to note that this dude really does fold very easily. He doesn't fold completely yet, but, like, even with Uta's incredibly unreliable yelling at him, he's like, what if Kaito did love me all along? He's already being shaken, and Darkine is like, don't do that. Don't do that, dude. You're on Team Evil. Why are you sitting here being like, I might have made a bad choice? Like, he's already being shaken. This is important to note. Important to note for my argument later. In the meantime, Kaito's on the stage, feeling real proud of his plan. Feeling real proud of his plan to get with Kazuma. He's like, oh, this is such a solid plan. Like, okay, Kaito. Okay. Let me know how that goes. What? It went poorly? It went poorly? You immediately, like, he smashed the stage and things are going awry? He didn't just roll up to your concert and was like, man, Kaito does love me. We should totally get back together. It's like that plan didn't work. I will say, so, taking a step back from all of the joking stuff right now, I do want to say that I don't like the boss at all for this episode. Our monster of the week is, in my opinion, awful for this episode. So something I haven't really commented too much on thus far in the series is how, from the beginning of the series to now, there's been a strong degradation in the quality of our monster of the week. Like, before, we would meet a character in the episode, and they would be relevant to being the monster of the week. And I let it slide because a lot of the times where we had silly Billy people end up becoming the monster of the week, it was in episodes where it didn't matter, or the episode wasn't super big deal at the time. And we didn't need a character to be relevant to the monster of the week. But for example, last week was good because the victim of the week ended up being the person who was rivaling Kokodo and trying to reach her while being in monster form, and Kokodo building her resolve was good. It was good writing for the monster of the week to the character that was there. Like, that, like, I feel like being lazy about the monster of the week kind of starts to defeat the purpose of a magical girl series to a degree. I feel like one of the strongest parts of a magical girl series is that whoever or whatever becomes the monster of the week ends up having some relevance to the character. So when you have something like Kokoro where she gives a speech like she did last week on the reasons why those feelings mattered and the reasons why that character mattered, it had more of an impact. And honestly, we had that for other ones. Like, because one of my most frustrating things that happens with this battle is that it did not go the way that we had with Cuddy and Zakudi. In specific, that Cuddy and Zakudi became monsters of the week. And you had a really passionate episode with Uta being like, Cuddy's a good dude. And then you had a really passionate episode with Nana about being Zakudi's a good dude. I was kind of expecting Jogi to, like, maybe evilify himself and, like, get some kind of, I don't know, turn his, like, grayish cloak into, like, black or something and give him a cool upgrade and fight or something along those lines. I thought that he would just, you know, upgrade himself and be kind of a final fight. Because do you know what the monster of the week is for this? It's some random loser who couldn't find his Kaito ticket because it was rearranged in his backpack. Like, there's no emotion for this character, and there's also no argument for why this monster of the week should be stronger than our team of 5, which is going to be the crux of what I hate about this. Kaito, in the meantime, like, kind of starts getting zooped into here because plot reasons. Like, he's like, I know that's Kazuma now, but technically speaking, when we Heart Garden, Kaito shouldn't be in there, but he kind of gets in there anyways, which I don't know what the plot. We do have an interesting moment where our favorite Moscow character almost catches them, almost sees the, like, idols fighting, and he's like, what's Idol Precure doing here with Kaito? That's so crazy. Which is another thing I don't like about the writing in the series and my personal hatred towards the concept of the Heart Garden more than actually the Delicious Field at this point, is that for the entire first half of the series, Idol Precure was fighting in public. Albeit that a lot of the people would faint when it happened, but there were a lot of moments where people were awake and aware of the Precure fighting, seeing them, like, go to town with a monster. And for some reason, like, the destruction and, like, stuff that was going on in the city, just, it didn't happen. I don't understand why this series specifically is trying to hide the existence of the fighting Precure. Like, I get they're idols, but, like, why can't we just have them be, like, idol heroes or something? I'm confused. I've never liked it when Precure tries to hide being Precure from society, except for maybe Star Twinkle, because Star Twinkle spent more time in space than necessarily hanging around Earth. But I've never liked this whole concept of trying to hide the concept of Precure. So many of the earlier seasons were that the town was fully aware that there were heroes constantly trying to save the day. It's actually one of the reasons why I really like Happiness Charge, because Happiness Charge globally acknowledges that the cures exist. But now they're sitting here with the Heart Garden being like, nobody knows that the Precure have been fighting, even though we've been fighting in the streets for around, what, like 25, 26 episodes? And the reason why I hate it more than the Delicious Field and Delicious Party is because Delicious Party, the stakes are so much lower. The thing that the villain is doing every week in that series is making food taste bad. And at that point, somebody could just eat a different meal. Like, the stakes were minimal there, so it didn't matter if everybody knew about the Precure, because Precure fighting for the right for food to taste not terrible. Here, Precure are fighting to make sure people don't die. Like, the stakes are a little bit different here. So either way, I hate the Heart Garden. I hate that the fact that the Heart Garden is here halfway and they act like they've been doing the Heart Garden the whole time. It's awful. And then unfortunately we find out where all the Sakuga went for Kokoro's final episode, because the animation is good. Like, even for this segment where the girls are fighting, despite them being, like, borderline not in this episode, I'm like, I guess the animation's good here when they're fighting, but it's only going to be as good as watching them get wasted. They are going to lose this battle because it's a Kaito episode, and Kaito has been, like, thrust upon us as an important character, despite him literally not mattering to the rest of the crew, except for Uta. So we just get some nice animation of the team getting wiped. And of course, like, you know, despite us trying to establish that Nana's shield is actually good, it's not. It's not actually good. I did think it was really funny, though, that, like, I had to, like, double-check this clip because it's, like, a blink and you miss it, but they literally not only have Nana get thrown back here, but she absolutely decimates Kyun. Because I'm like, why are her legs when she fell back? And I was like, she literally got yote on to poor Kyun. Like, it's just a small thing that made me laugh. Nonetheless, full hood off, and the reason why I keep calling him Kazuma and not calling him Jogi is because he's pretty much just Kazuma at this point, in terms of, like, it's him, He's the guy from the past, and we don't know why he got renamed Jogi. I don't know if that ever got explained. But he's here, and he's angry, and he's about to give us the sad TM backstory to finish off the other backstory. We also get this, like, really, like, again, the animation good for no reason, because there's a lot of shots of the team, like, looking so diva as they are absolutely getting destroyed. Like, why is this such a good shot with them losing? Anyways, we have the explanation that what happened with Kazuma after trying to, you know, be the bigger person is that the struggle of being rejected and seeing Kaito succeed really wore down on him. And we do have proof in this exact screenshot. Kazuma has what we would call a phone. And it seems that that is not utilized between them. And I wish the series would clarify what happened here. Whereas it, like, did Kaito just never bother to reach out? Like, Kaito's like, you know this friend whose phone number I have? I'm not gonna text him. I'm gonna write a really vague song for him. I'm gonna write this really, really vague song. He's gonna know I'm talking about him when I could. To be fair, the series could have easily turned around and said that Kazuma blocked him because he thought he was holding him back and he didn't want to, like, ruin Kaito, so he blocked his number. Never explained that. And neither character just, like, there's no communication. And Kaito's sitting here being like, I've been reaching out for you the whole time. And I'm like, I don't really feel like you have been, though. You never texted him. Like, he is about to fold like a napkin. He's about to fold like origami. With the thing called basic communication. However, we see his dark resentment build up, which I think is very normal to happen. Like, I don't fully blame him here, because he tried. He tried to be the bigger person, and honestly, yeah, it does suck to sit there and, like, have somebody in your life have everything come easily, and you're trying your butt off, and it's not working. Like, again, like I said, this guy, in my mind, is, like, the protagonist of another life. And I also think I've always had soft spots for this character. Like, if you asked me who I cared more about, like, Loki or Thor, 100% Loki. 100%. Like, Loki was born unfortunate, and Thor just got everything handed to him. Like, Thor, like, they sat there and they're all like, Loki, you're gonna grow up to be the villain. And he's like, shit, why should I fight against fate? I have always had a soft spot for these characters, because, yeah, it does suck. Another Magical Girl series also did this that I never, like, fully could commiserate with, where, I'm trying to remember all the names, but they're Sasami Magic. The main character, Sasami, also same situation, where she was just always destined to be a light user, and her best friend, who also is, like, borderline should have been a romantic love interest, turned to the dark side, because she was never as, like, strong as Kasumi, no matter how much she tried. I hate this. This plotline makes me just kind of mad, because I feel for these characters who get turned bad, more than I feel for the characters who are sitting there getting everything coming to them easily, and then being like, I don't understand why they're mad at me. I'm 100%. I'm a Kazuma stan now. And I also think another thing that the series doesn't address clearly enough here too for me is that I'm not fully buying that everything that's happened with Kazuma is completely and utterly out of his own volition. I do feel like there's a level of, like, Dark Ine sitting there preying upon the darkness of his heart in the same way that we saw her trying to prey on the darkness of Medanon. Being like, hey, you're at a low point, I can use that. Because it's so much more compelling, too, to manipulate the darkness in his heart to go even darker than necessarily you have him, like, you have Dark Ine taking Cuddy and Zakari and debatably Chokine and just being like, you're evil now. Even though you guys had no inclination of being evil, you're evil now, congratulations. Like, I'd like to think that there's a degree of where he was at a low point, and you got your villain taking advantage of a low point. And so he's sitting here trying to, like, you know, articulate in a comically evil way that, like, he built up resentment, and that Kaito never cared about him. To which Kaito's sitting here being like, no, bro, I loved you the whole time. And then we're about to watch this man. We're about to watch this man, like I said before, fold like an origami class. And then there's Uta, which girl, shut up. This whole time, I'm like, Uta, you need to not, like, I get that you're in this episode, but at this point, I'm almost like, I wish the entirety of UNIDOL was all gone, and not just the rest of the team. Because every time Uta is here, she is just like, yeah, Kaito's right. And it's like, girl, you are only saying that because you have a crush on Kaito. Like, her dealing with Kazuma in every second of it is incredibly frustrating to watch. Because Uta is just here for Kaito. When they have pulled this plot line in other series, they have handled it so much better. I'm bringing back Delicious Party, for example. Delicious Party, without going into spoilers, for the final villain. We have Cure Precious have somebody incredibly important to her get hurt. Very similar to, like, Uta's, like, caring about Kaito. She cares a lot about this character. However, the series shames her for trying to take vengeance. Instead, the series makes her reconsider her actions and reconsider her motivation against the villain. Instead, she tries to understand why the villain is behaving that way and tries to convince the villain to be a good guy. And the way specifically it's handled in Delicious Party, I think is well done. I think the way that they do it, because, like, trust me, I love a good level of revenge. I'm very pro-revenge. However, I think the way the Delicious Party was trying to take you off, like, having blind rage revenge, handled it very well, in my personal opinion. And part of it is the fact that Cure Precious sat there with the villain and was like, let's figure out what's going on, let's, like, fix this. Whereas Uta, again, is just here for Kaito. She does not care about Kazuma. She doesn't have a conversation with Kazuma. She never tries to, like, hear out what Kazuma, like, hit Kazuma's position and understand any of it and try to convince him at least from his own perspective. Because obviously I'm not saying for her to sympathize with Kazuma and agree with his actions by any means, but never sits there and, like, tries to relate to... Like, they could have gone that direction. Uta, genuinely, at the beginning of the series, her dynamic with Kaito was established that she was jealous that he was naturally good at things. And that despite her working hard, she wasn't achieving that. She had, like, all of the perfect opportunity to sit there and understand Kazuma's position, but then give him hope. From the position of somebody going through the same thing as him. They didn't do that, though. She's just like, you know, Kaito's right, because I have a crush on Kaito. I'm like, I just shut up, Uta, get out of here. I don't want you here at all. Like, Kaito is actually doing a good job. They did a really good job of Kaito finally being like, what if I just talk to him straight up? And reach out and be like, hey, I regretted not taking your hand that day. Which, mind you, it's not about, like, the uncensored hand-holding that Kaito wants to do. It is about the fact that Kaito regrets not debuting with Kazuma, not trying to stay on track for their dream to be a duo, for giving up on them and just going off without him. He regrets not doing it together. That's the biggest thing. And it's like, again, this is coming from Kaito himself, not like peer pressure or anything. He admits that the reason why he's even bothering to do all this was always for Kazuma, and that's what needed to be said. That is what would have prevented all of this conflict from happening, but we have to have conflict in the series. And Kazuma folds like a napkin! He immediately is like, oh shoot, my situationship has been a good thing this whole time. Kaito never gave up on me. And he's like, oh, he goes into, like, sunk cost fallacy mode, where he's like, I've been so evil, I can't stop being evil. Like, I've been so wrong this entire time that I can't stop now, you know? You're like, I've sunk too much in here, I've become the bad guy too much, we gotta keep bad guying. And, like, you see him sitting here calculating. He's like, but I did all of this. I was doing all these really bad things. What do you mean you loved me the whole time? But then, again, I'm still gonna stay on Team Kazuma, because you know what he does? He uses all of his evil magic to get rid of the Heart Garden. How can you sit here and say you hate Kazuma? He got rid of the Heart Garden. Like, he's the hero of the franchise. He's a better character. Literally, this whole episode just made me care about Kazuma. Like, that's what this has been. I don't think this is remotely the take I was supposed to have, but it's the take I do have. And now, we're back here, and they almost get seen fighting, but the red guy passes out. And, like, look at this. He's like, you see how I'm getting rid of your pastel mushrooms you've been seeing every episode for a while now on repeat? I'm getting rid of them. Like, hero. Hero in my eyes. We also get more dramatic poses, like Kiss for some reason is, like, you know, knocked out. We can't be having the background characters be conscious and helpful. Which is another thing I wanted to put out here. Another, like, tangent I'm gonna go on about how they could have made this story better is probably of actually using Metadon. Hear me out. One of the reasons why I enjoy another season that I'm going to recommend over this one, of which people know I'm not the biggest shill for Hagato Precure, but watch Hagato Precure instead of this season. If you want to see a really compelling male side character. Because one of the best features with the character in that season, Henri, is that his character manages to be relevant to almost every member of that team. They also have got a team of 5. he ends up connecting with the characters because his whole tagline is gender roles are stupid. You know how Kaito has, like, no tagline? Kaito's, like, not giving us anything? Henri was like, gender roles are stupid. And he manages to make that relevant to the whole group. But also, he was not besties with our main character, no. He ultimately end up establishing a connection with Hana, the main character of Hakuto? Yes. But he initially, and spends more time talking to Homore, who is our third character in the show. The only character he's not connected to is Anje, but she's also Kiranje, so. But Kiss could have been this, at least for Kazuma, because think about it. Kiss is the one character in the group who did have Temptation of the Darkness, who was somebody who, for the longest time, was struggling with not choosing the right thing, not choosing friendship, not choosing the light. She would have been the best character to have sat there with Kazuma, understood where he was coming. Like, feeling like it's hopeless to move forward. Feeling like we might as well just tear down the world because it's not going well for us. We should just be mean to others. But then she overcame it. She would have been the best character to actually have had a parallel with Kazuma and been able to sympathize with him. Because again, the only person who's borderline even kind of sympathizing with Kazuma or is remotely knowing what's going on is just Kaito. And I feel like Hakuto did so much better where the rest of the team was really relevant to the conflict with Henri and also one of the character's brothers who was the other guy in that situation, which was Masato. They had the whole group relevant to that plotline and they did such a good job with it. But again, this is another season where, like, everything that's happening with Kaito and Kazuma is super irrelevant to the main team. Except for the one branch that Uta's in love with Kaito. But again, it's such... she has, like, such a bias to be relevant to the story that it makes her basically irrelevant. Speaking of, like, just again, wishing Uta would leave. She's sitting here having this smug face because Kaito's about to pop off. She's like, oh, Kaito's about to take you down, Kazuma. And I was like, you literally... I was like, please don't be here, Uta. Please don't be here. Like, honestly, she is... I've never seen a character third wheel so hard in her own show, but I was like, this plotline has become so divorced from the actual show that I'm like, I don't want the actual show to be here anymore. You and Idol Precure just needs to go away, and Kaito and Kazuma need to deal with their situationship. It's 2 shows at this point. And we see also, again, like I said, I don't feel like Kazuma was completely independent on making the decisions he did, because you see Darkine trying to, like, hold on to his darkness to get him to continue to fight. And, I mean, look, he's got a headache. His head's hurt. You're a little evil when you have a headache. And then we get the screenshot that we saw for the episode of Kaito looking like he was about to transform into a cure. And girl, you'll never believe what happened next. I think the worst part of this is it's really good. He has probably the best transformation sitting there next to Cure Wing for our male Cure lineup so far. Like, the fact that they have the blurring going on here and the dramatic shadows, like, they did a number on this. They went all in on this transformation. Their Kaito favoritism was not hidden. And, like, I really hate to say it, he has the best outfit. Of all the, like, male cures slash almost male cures and their outfits, I'm sorry, but Kaito's is the best. Cure Connect genuinely does have the best outfit I've seen thus far, and it makes me mad. I'm like, this outfit is pretty up. I think other than maybe Cure Kagura from Dancing Star is, like, the only other one who I can think of who has just, like, probably the best male outfit. Because they keep going for this, like, princely, borderline Arabic sometimes outfits for the guys. And this one's just so far felt the most cohesive to me. It's also, it's borderline blue. Like, oh, let's be real, it is blue. It's like mint green and blue. And I'm like, ooh. Oh, I do delightfully enjoy those colors together. He doesn't deserve them. Also, who let this guy's thing be feathers? Offended. I like feathers. Don't be... Look, I got little wings on right now. You see my little ear wings? He doesn't deserve feathers. I call dibs. This is Toei Animation. I've been plagiarized. Ah! And then this is actually, you know, this is where I'm going to actually agree with the male Cure haters for just a brief second. Hear me out, though. Hear me out. He is doing precisely what they feared. He is now doing the exact thing that people said why they didn't want a male Cure, which is the fact that he rolled up as Cure Connect and solos the monster in one hit. Like, our girls were struggling. Our whole team was struggling with this monster of the week, which again was a comic relief monster. It was not a monster of, like, any important character going through actual, like, deep struggles. This was just a guy who misplaced his ticket. It's not deep. This is up there with Popcorn Boy, who's, like, became evil because he spilled popcorn. And Kaito solos him, easily, when a team of 5 couldn't handle him. Kaito is doing more in this moment than the entire 5+ Padaru group of dancing star Precure. And it makes me mad. It makes me so mad that he's sitting here taking everybody out for what took, like, 10 people. He's like, I'll do it in one. I hate that. I've always hated that, too. I hate it when mid-seasons do it, too, where they come in a little too overpowered. I don't love it then. I don't love it here. Like, at least when we've had this happen with the guys before, they haven't soloed. Like, when we had Cure Infini, he didn't solo it. He helped out. And then the girls finished it off. We didn't have him soloing any generals or anything, and same with Takumi when he did his thing. And then obviously Cure Wing was just part of the team, so his amount of helpfulness was the amount a character in the group would be. And even when we had both Satoru and Daifuku do what they did in Wonderful Precure, they, again, were not being this level of OP right out the gate, and there was 2 of them. So, the reason why they're giving this to Kaito is because he's quote-unquote the legendary idol. I don't like it, I'll be honest. And then not only does he solo the monster and one-hit KOs him, he also manages to purify Kazuma, which is, again, he's coming out the gate very OP. Very, very, very OP. And then we get to see Kazuma's design, which I'm not gonna lie, adult Kazuma has a pretty decent male design, I'm not gonna lie to you. He looks pretty good. I like it. But he slaps Kaito / Cure Connect's hand away. He's like, no. But with reason. He explains that he was too evil. That he doesn't deserve to be with Kaito because he was too stinky. He was too evil. And I'm like, oh, no, I get you. Like, at first I was like, what was that slap? And I was like, oh, I understand. I get you. And then Kaito is like, now being the bigger person, being like, hey, bro, if you're thinking that way, you can't be that evil. Boo, 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 boo. And I'm like, okay, Kaito. You know, that's something, like, an Uta-esque character would say if she was better. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I'm, like, crapping on Uta, but her entire helpfulness in this particular arc has been 0. Because she's been 100% biased. She's been love-biased the entire time. She should be somebody sitting here saying something like this. Like, I'm glad, like, at the end of the day, for the sake of the romance between Kazuma and Kaito, like, it's good that Kaito's saying this. But this would be the kind of line that normally the protagonist would say. This is what the main Cure would say to the villain. And that's what they have. They did in Hagato. They did in Delicious Party. Like, this would be their line. And we don't have Uta saying it. Kazuma obviously breaks down because, again, he folds very easily. We have established this. And then we have uncensored handholding. That's what Precure's known for, is their uncensored handholding. Like, watch out, everybody! Pew, pew, pew! This is the most romantic thing we've seen happen in the franchise. And then just to make it even more, we have crying and magical floaty stuff to make it a little bit more romantic. Like, look at that. Like, this is a wedding. I witnessed a magical wedding here. And then Uta's here. Like, girl, you're looking all happy. You're just happy that Kaito's happy. You ain't happy that they're together. I'm clocking you right now, girl. Like, you're out here third wheeling. Get out. Get out of this scene. You need to stay away from Kaito because he's still very suspicious about how much he has, like, become codependent on you. I still think that's very weird. Nonetheless, our girls are gonna go finish our terrible monster of the week that they could have easily taken out if they were not, you know, nerfed in this episode. And then the next reason why I didn't really like this, why, like, I don't really love that Kaito became a Cure, is because he had no idea what a Cure was. Like, he's like, what just happened? And I'm like, the fact that Kazuma has far more awareness of what Precure are and what's going on, and Kaito doesn't know anything, drives me mad. He doesn't even get to appreciate what just happened to him. He doesn't even know. He got, like, again, this is where, like, Kaito's getting everything handed to him on a silver platter without doing anything. I was like, you don't even know how amazing it was to be given the honor of being a Cure. You don't even understand what the concept of being a Cure is. Again, this is why I have much stronger appreciation for the other seasons that have handled male characters. Kira did a lot better with Picario. Even if it's still not great, it's better than this. Picario knew what a Precure was. Then we have something, like, again, Hagato handles this so much better. What happens with Henri, and is so much better. And he understands what cures are, because that series didn't hide the fact that Precure are there, despite every time they fought, time froze. He knew what a cure was. He understood the concept of a Precure. He had some knowledge of what was going on, even if he didn't fully understand the identities of everybody. He knew what a cure was. He's not sitting here having, like, Cure Kiss walk over and be like, let me lie about what you were and what happened, and, like, be super vague about it. Like, let's just tee-hee-ha-ha the explanation of Precure. He just doesn't know anything. He's completely in the dark about it. I would have loved it if this series, way back when they introduced him alongside Tanaka, would have loved if we could have had some connection with Kaito and the team, where if Tanaka was just his manager. If Tanaka was already Kaito's manager, and we had one other bridge to make it make sense that Kaito's hanging out with the crew, I would have been so much happier. Instead of him just having this weird stalker relationship with Uta. It would have just made more sense. Luckily, we get rid of everybody else, and it's just Kaito and Kazuma, where Kaito and Kazuma are having this, like, interesting, like, quiet moment together in the middle of the stage when everything's closed down. Where Kazuma is like, yeah, I'm just gonna, give up on being an idol. I wasn't cut out for it. Clearly I got rejected from everything. Maybe I should just do my own thing. This was not it. But I love that Kaito's like, no. No. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. He's like, I'm gonna do what we should have done to begin with, which is we should have been idols together. And so the situationship is back on. Everybody cheered. The situation is once again back on. And then we get the second uncensored hand-holding of the episode. And I'm curious if we're actually going to see the repercussions of this. Like, are we actually going to see Idol Kaito and Idol Kazuma tour together and perform together? Because now Kaito is in a position where he's famous enough that he could just, like, use his famous power and influence to just get Kazuma next to him. And being like, I'm just not going to perform anymore if Kazuma's not there. Like, he can pull that. He has full ability to pull that BS if he wanted to. Other things that people have mentioned now that we're kind of, like, wrapping up the episode. People have mentioned the potential that Kaito could come back since he was this, like, surprise cure. Like, this one-off cure. That he show up for the finale, which I think so far, except for maybe Kira, potentially. I think these one-off cures have come back in the final episode almost every time except for Kira, but I have to double check the finale for Kira. So it's a strong likelihood that he comes back, but I think it also depends on where our final battle takes place. Like, most of this entire series has taken place here, and we have spent very little time in Kiriki Land. But at the end of the day, Darkine's true conflict is predominantly, as far as we are aware, has been with Kiriki Land. And so until we really understand what Darkine is doing, that's going to decide where it is. I do think that if this does, for whatever reason, end up having the final battle take place in Kiriki Land, then there's absolutely no reason for Kaito to show up. But they'll shoehorn him in there. They'll shoehorn him in there if they need to. But what I would like to do, without trying to say any spoilers right now, I've said, like, borderline so many spoilers for other shows, and I'm super sorry for anybody who did not want to hear that. I really do mean that. But it'd be really cool for the final episode, if I'm gonna have to see Cure connect again, that Kazuma also gets a Cure form. I'd love to see them have Cure duos, and more specifically, I'd love to see Cure Kazuma be Brown. I feel like we have not had a Brown Cure in the franchise before, and that guy could do a Brown. If he just pulled off, like, a Brown Cure duo thingy with Kaito, I think that'd be really cool. They could be, like, a mint chocolate chip duo. Like, can that be their ship name? Like, I'm trying to sell something here. You guys picking up what I'm putting down? I feel like we could make this work. But yeah, I mean, again, for how I overall felt about this episode, it's just very polarizing. Everything that basically didn't have to do with you and Idol in this episode, whether I liked it or not, I did kind of enjoy it. I don't super hate that Kaito became a cure, especially since his design's really nice, but I don't feel like it was written well into the story. I feel like, impressively enough, this whole side plot with Kaito has been just way too divorced from the rest of the show. And I kind of had that complaint initially with Delicious Party, that everything that happened in the finale and everything was a little too divorced from the main team. I think this did it worse. Like, just the entire sidelining of the team and the characters that could have been relevant, and just separating it from them sucked. And then, the only thread that had Uta connected to this storyline is how much she liked Kaito. I think it wouldn't have been as bad if it wasn't love. If Uta had sat there and just been like, Kaito's somebody who's been mentoring me. Like, if they had stuck with the mentorship that they had at the beginning of the series, I think it would have been fine. I think going down this very wasteful romance path that they have dragged out for episodes has been annoying. And it really just makes everything that Uta's doing not feel genuine. And like this is my version of how like shows will be like revenge is not the way to deal with her final boss. I think Uta only helping Kaito because she has feelings for him also sucks. Potentially next episode could deal with it. Like my running theory, or more of the way I want the next episode to go from the looks of it, is that we have the knowledge that Uta gets sick and she has lost her voice and she can't sing, and at some point in the episode she's going to have a conversation with Kaito. I think, along with other people, have theorized that the way that those previews went was out of order, and that the first thing that's going to happen in the next episode is that Uta, having done all this, is going to be like, I can confess to Kaito now. And that confession leads to her getting rejected, because Precure always has to do that. We always gotta have some little girl fall in love with an adult and then get rejected, because we gotta keep doing that. Unless it's yes 5, then they can get together. But the series has, like, the biggest obsession with having to do a child falls in love with an adult and then, like, we gotta throw in rejection somewhere. I'm like, why do we have this plot at all? Why do we do this for the 6th time in the franchise? It's so annoying. And now we're gonna waste an entire episode in our final episode lineup to just have Uta, like, you know, deal with being rejected and, like, having to find out that I'm not just singing because I had a crush on some guy, which I decided to do in the latter half of the show. I've actually been singing for other people this whole time, and that maybe, like, I haven't done it just for romance. And honestly, her romance has been the worst motivating factor for why she's done anything. And honestly, I feel like the explanation that I've seen for the reasoning of why they wrote the whole Kaito and Uta side plot has just kind of made me more annoyed. Where they basically were like, Uta admired him and it blossomed into romance. And then Kaito, like, saw potential in Uta and then just got unnecessarily close to her. And then they were like, yeah, we started it to, like, gradually turn into a relationship or turn it into a romance by the end of the show. And what will happen with that romance? You'll have to wait until next week to find out. I hate it. The other thing that could happen in the next episode is that Uta just gets sick and whatever, and then confesses at Kaito at the end of the episode, and then we drag it out for another one, and I really hope that doesn't happen. I'm really banking on my first theory just being the way it goes. Either way, it's frustrating to me that we are dragging this out another episode, and if they drag it out too, I think I'm genuinely gonna lose it. We still have not finished the Puriloon Merodon arcs at all either. Unless we're gonna count what happened like 10 episodes ago as that. We also, again, have not addressed Darkine. Like, I hate that the next episode is like Uta finding her voice, and I'm like, I don't care. I'll be honest. She's going to have a problem that she didn't need to have. And is going to just get solved, and then we move on and we waste an entire 30-minute episode doing this. For what? So, I'm not really looking forward to next week's episode, but similar to this one, I'm hoping it just is the end. I hope it puts the closure on something, because I'm a little exhausted. I don't want any more of this. But we will find out then. Until next time, bye-bye!